Hello and a very good morning. It's just past 8 this Tuesday morning and we're back again with all the news and breakfast news. You're with us here on DD India. I am Nancy Kohli and with me is Anil Thomas. Anil, good morning. How are you doing?
Well, doing perfectly fine and almost happy today. Last day of the shift.
All right, absolutely. Well, with that, let's begin our show and we'll in fact be getting you all the news from across the nation, world, sports and business updates. And also, in fact, taking a look at what the web is carrying this morning, the trends on the web as well.
Well, lots to look forward to. October 13th on the calendar, it's the International Day for Natural Disaster Reduction. It's observed annually to raise awareness about the risk in disaster reduction across the world, especially when in this pandemic times, when the basic foundations are shaken. You know, at least paying importance to these kind of days like national disaster reduction is very important, as globally, world over, we see disasters taking place everywhere. Well, lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes, but let's get started this morning at 8 with the top headlines we are tracking.
The Gst Council meeting fails to evolve consensus on compensation to states for the shortfall in their share of the indirect tax revenue. The finance minister says the government will facilitate states which are ready to borrow from the RBI.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces 70,000 crore rupees demand stimulus package, announces LTC cash voucher scheme, one-time leave encashment to buy goods and services with 12% GST and special interest-free loans to states for 50 years for capital expenditure for 12,000 crore rupees.
Prime Minister Modi to release the autobiography of Dr. Balasai Vikhe Patil and rename the Prasar Rural Education Society as Loknete Dr. Balasai Vikhe Patil Prasar Rural Education Society.
Political activity intensifies ahead of the upcoming Bihar Assembly polls. BJP expels 9 leaders for anti-party activity. Election Commission issues guidelines for exit polls.
Arogya Setu application developed by the Government of India for the prevention of COVID-19 is receiving worldwide acclaim. The World Health Organization Chief Lords Arogya Setu says it helped to identify the corona clusters.
Corona recovery rate increases to 86.36%. More than 71,000 people recover in the last 24 hours. The telemedicine service eSanjeevani completes 5 lakh teleconsultation. World over, COVID-19 cases cross 3 crore 80 lakh.
Donald Trump returns to the campaign trail after COVID-19 recovery. Campaigns in Florida hours after White House says Trump had tested negative for COVID-19 on consecutive days and was not infectious to others.
And in sports, Denmark Open Badminton Championship to begin from today. India's Lakshya Sen to take on Frenchman Christophe Popov in the opening round. Saina Nehwal and Parupalli Kashyap withdraw from the tournament.
Well, we'll get you all the top stories, but first our focus is on the 43rd Gst Council meeting that took place yesterday. Well, that's ended in a stalemate. We'll be getting you more updates on that by connecting with a correspondent in just a bit.
Well, a follow-up on the meeting that took place on the 5th of October, but October 12th to note the deadlock not being broken and there is no resolution yet on the issue of compensation to states on their GST share. The extended 42nd meeting of the Gst Council meeting ended on Monday without any consensus. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who heads the council, said that the centre cannot borrow and pay states for the shortfall, as it would lead to a rise in bond yields, resulting in the rise in borrowing cost. However, this would not be the case if states borrowed against future GST receipts.
If the numbers, say 21 who have written, are now saying, we've made a choice, allow us to do. what we want with our money. Can anyone or the council stop a member from doing that? Can the council stop a member from wanting to borrow and say the cess will go for repaying that borrowing? So on that point, and also very clearly saying, yes, unfortunately we were not able to arrive at a consensus, I appealed to every one of the members to say, quickly we have to give answers to those people who want money in their hands, because they are the ones, all of you all, each state are the ones who are fighting against COVID in the ground.
Well, 21 states have chosen borrowing option number 1 for compensation of revenue shortfall due to GST implementation. However, 10 states ruled by non-National Democratic Alliance as the NDA parties are still insisting that the centre borrow the entire 2.35 lakh crore and compensate them. Well, for more details on that particular story on GST Council meeting that's ended with no consensus there on the forefront, Arun Sharma, correspondent, joining us with more updates. Arun, the GST deadlock is on. Now, what happens since there is no consensus being arrived at? An extended meeting that took place on 5th, that initially took place on 5th, an extension of which took place on 12th, but still no deadlock. So what's the way ahead?
Good morning, Anil. And yes, yesterday it was a continuation of the 42nd GST Council meeting, where the focus was completely on forming the consensus on one important issue, that means who will borrow, will the centre or the states? So primarily what has happened yesterday, that 21 states are on board as far as borrowing is concerned. We know this fact that when GST was implemented, it was decided that centre will compensate for the next 5 years, that means from 2017 for the next 5 years, as far as the revenue shortfall is concerned. Okay. But now what is, we know this fact that now, because of the COVID pandemic, the GST collection, could not be garnered as much it was expected. So now the focus, now what the GST Council meeting is going forward is that, as to how can the revenue shortfall can be met. So primarily Finance Ministry has given 2 options to all these states. So most of the states, that means 21 states, have come forward with the first opting for the first option, that means borrowing the 97,000 crore rupees that should be borrowed by the states. So the centre will act as a facilitator. Now the question arises that why can't centre borrow and give it to states? The answer to this question is that if in case centre starts borrowing it, as centre has already rolled out its borrowing calendar for this entire fiscal, and if in case additional borrowing is being made, the government securities bond yield starts to increase. That means interest rate starts to rise. That means the bond yield starts to increase. This also makes borrowing costlier for the private player as well, and for all the stakeholders who are borrowing. So in that case, the rating of various rating agencies do observe this Gst bond yield as well. So if in case the centre goes ahead and borrows the entire amount, in that case the rating of India might also deteriorate. So that's the reason why the government is focusing upon, the GST Council is focusing upon, that consensus could be made as far as borrowing is concerned, and 21 states are on board as far as borrowing is concerned. And yes, until and unless the consensus is reached, the focus is only on reaching the consensus.
Absolutely. And, in the context of no breakthrough being achieved in this council meeting as well, it still ended in a stalemate. Arun, how important is the centre's assurance that the government will facilitate the states which are ready to borrow from the central bank?
Well, so Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday, assured all these states and clearly said that all those states who are ready to borrow, they'll be facilitating it. And yes, until and unless all the states to come on board, because there are various states like Tamil Nadu for that matter, they've also said that they gradually think about borrowing because they have only one option left, and that is for borrowing. If in case states borrow, there is no impact as far as the bond yield is concerned, not much impact as far as bond yield is concerned, which is around 5 to 5.5% of the Gst securities bond yield. But if in case centre borrows it, it impacts a lot as far as the bond yield is concerned, the interest rates are concerned, the borrowing is concerned. So yes, gradually all states are coming on board. And the soul of the GST Council is, of course, the cooperative federalism. That means how can cooperative federalism can be ensured. So yes, the strong statement coming out from the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday was that there is no dispute in the GST Council, but there is no consensus as of now. So yesterday it was a continuation of 42nd GST Council meet, whereby consensus was tried to be formed, and 21 states are on board as far as the borrowing is concerned. They are ready to borrow, and they are ready to opt for the option number 1 of borrowing of 97,000 crore rupees, whereby Centre will act as a facilitator when they borrow from Reserve Bank of India. Now, gradually it is expected that all states will come on board, because at the end everybody needs money at this point in time. Because most states are, facing this crunch, primarily, or you can say that revenue shortfall. And in order to fulfill this revenue shortfall, this borrowing by the states is the only option, whereby they'll be compensated with the compensation cess. That means Finance Ministry and primarily the GST Council is open for various ideas as to they can increase the number of years for the compensation cess, because earlier it was decided that the compensation cess would be implemented for would be given till 5 years, but that can be extended for next 2 to 3 years as well. That can be an option. The compensation of the cess can be increased as well to compensate the states. So there's various options are open, but yes, first of all, it is important for all the states to come on board as far as the borrowing is concerned.
Arun, one quick word from me before I let you go. Is there politics being played over it, considering the fact there are 10 states that are objecting to it, and the options that are there before you? Because if the deadlock continues, what could be the way ahead now to get those 10 states on board, or what are the options there before the Finance Ministry?
Well, we know this fact that all these states are non-BJP or non-NDA government states, so they are opposing it. There could be a politics, but importantly, above politics, the important point is that these states want the centre to borrow. They know this fact that if in case centre goes ahead and borrows on behalf of states and give it to the states, the point is that the ratings of our country can deteriorate, the Gst bond yields can increase, interest rates, so that can be a dampening effect for the entire economy. But if in case states do borrow, there will not be any kind of impact as far as the ratings or the interest rate of our country is concerned.
All right, yes.
Yeah, so that's an important part. But yes, gradually all states will come on board as far as consensus is met.
All right, Arun Sharma, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all the insights and the inputs as far as the 43rd GST Council meeting that took place yesterday. Well, that's ended in a stalemate is concerned. And the centre has announced a landmark scheme to boost consumer demand which was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The stimulus includes a unique LTC cash voucher scheme and one-time revival of the festival advance scheme. The October to March quarter is the most crucial in a fiscal year for India. It is called the busy season as it gives a push to economic activity. It's also the festive season during which most people go on a buying spree and rural demand is also high. Just in time for the festive season, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced a festival bonanza for central government employees and appealed to state governments in the private sector to give a boost to demand. The government expects the stimulus to create an additional demand of at least 1 lakh crore rupees. The Finance Minister announced that central government employees will be provided tax benefits on LTC component without them having to actually travel. These employees would, however, be required to spend 3 times of the LTC fare and 10-day leave encashment for purchasing items that attract 12% or more GST. These purchases will have to be made in digital mode from GST registered outlets. Besides, the central government employees will get interest-free advance of 10,000 rupees that the government will recover in 10 installments under the Special Festival Advance Scheme. If all states provide similar advance, it will create an additional demand of 36,000 crore rupees.
The travel fare you take and spend it so that it gives a boost to the economy. Tax concessions are available even for the state governments. So the demand infusion in the economy by the central government and central government public sector undertakings, we estimate will be around 19,000 crores.
The Finance Minister also announced special interest-free 50-year loans to states of 12,000 crore rupees. It includes 2,500 crore rupees for northeastern states and Himalayan states, 7,500 crore rupees for the remaining states, and 2,000 crore rupees for those states which meet at least 3 out of 4 reforms given in Atmanirbhar fiscal deficit package, like One Nation, One Ration Card scheme and power sector reforms.
The amount has to be spent by states before the 31st of March 2021 and can be used to pay for ongoing schemes too besides new ones. The loan is over and above borrowing ceilings of the states, and the payment will be one bullet payment after 50 years. The decision to increase spending on infrastructure will boost demand in the economy. While the budget already provides for infrastructure spending of 3.12 lakh crore rupees, the stimulus package announced on Monday entails an additional spending of 25,000 crore rupees by the 31st of March. The money will be used for road construction, security equipments, water supply and urban development schemes. The FM has appealed to the private sector to complement the government's efforts to rev up demand in the economy. The booster dose to the economy looks set to give a push to demand and help those who have been worst hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. With inputs from Ajay Mishra, DD India.
Well, moving to the battleground state of Bihar, where assembly elections are less than a fortnight away, and Bihar BJP on Monday expelled the 9 rebels who quit to join Chirag Paswan's LJP over the past week. Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Kumar Modi, the BJP's senior-most leader in the state and who last week warned the rebels to come back to the fold or be expelled, also declared that the LJP is not part of the NDA in Bihar. Continuing with Bihar elections, Election Commission has issued guidelines for exit polls for the upcoming elections. As per the guidelines, publishing or broadcasting exit polls on print or electronic media from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. of October 28th and November 7th is prohibited. The Commission has warned the concerned parties in this regard and said that punitive action, including 48-hour ban on news channels, will be taken against the violation of the rules. Tuesday was the last day for withdrawal of candidature for the first phase of elections in 71 assembly constituencies. Nominations of 1,090 candidates have been found valid in this particular phase. 71 assembly constituencies spread over 16 districts will go to polls on the 28th of this month. A large number of independent candidates and also candidates from small parties have filed their nominations.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Yogesh Sheetal, who's joining us with more inputs on the upcoming Bihar elections. Yogesh, good morning. Political activities there, the political temperature there in the state heating up, and the expulsion of the rebel MLAs clearly sending out a very strong message.
Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Anil. The political things, we know that Bihar is a very, important state when we talk about politics, because Bihar has given a number of national level political leaders also. So now, as far as politics is concerned, there's no doubt the rallies are on. The prominent figure like Jitan Ram Manji, who is the former CM of Bihar, and also Uday Narayan Chaudhary, former Speaker of Bihar Assembly, they all are in the fray in the first phase. And right now I'm in Gaya, which is just located at South Bihar, because mostly in 71 constituencies, talking broadly, then all 71 constituencies are most constituencies are located in South Bihar, which is basically connected to Jharkhand. And just for security purpose, the border between the Jharkhand and Bihar is now completely sealed. Additional forces are there to ensure that no untoward incident take place, no anti-social element intervene in the election. So and also, since Gaya is, we know that there are 10 constituencies in Gaya. 4 constituencies are Naxal affected, 1 constituency is partially Naxal affected. So the administration has decided to, the ECI is basically decided to reduce the time. General time is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But in those areas which are Naxal affected, basically 4 constituencies I told you, the time would be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. just to ensure that the polling party and the entire officials, they just take entire thing wind up and just return to their place in safe time. So this is basically, this is one of the steps that have been taken. Apart from that, we know that this is in fact the biggest election in the world in the COVID-19 times.
Right.
So just keeping that in view, also a number of steps have been taken. We know that the Election Commission of India has decided to offer to give an alternate to the people who are 80 plus, as well as Divyangjan. to cast their vote from their home. They will be given a form, that is 12D, a form 12D, that will be given to these people, and they can cast their vote through also ballot papers. The entire thing, videography, and also the things that are related to transparency, to ensure transparency, that will be put on place. So number of things that have been done. Apart from that, we know the social distancing, one of the main things that the government has been saying since the day one, since the COVID-19 outbreak. So also social distancing, to ensure social distancing at voting centers. There are circles have been formed there. There will be sufficient amount of sanitizer. If a person found suspect of COVID-19, then the last 1 hour will be dedicated to those people, and there will be a separate queue. All the officials will be equipped with PPE kit, and they will assist them to cast their votes. So overall, all the preparations are made, and it is ensured that no one left in the in the festival of democracy.
Okay, Yogesh, now when you look at this particular, we are still a fortnight away from the first phase of polling. But having said that, now LJP is, as Sushil Kumar Modi mentioned, that LJP is out of the NDA. Does that leave now the voters a bit confused? Because, you were once part of the alliance, now you are out of the alliance. How does the political, mathematics or the political arithmetic work out there down on ground zero?
It's a very interesting question. In fact, because we have seen a couple of days back when JP Nadda just held a rally in Gaya Gandhi Man. That was the first rally, even first big rally in Bihar, for the first phase of election. What remarkable thing was, JP Nadda did not mention Lok Janshakti Party. He did mention Nitish Kumar and JDU, but he did not mention Lok Janshakti Party. Now, what important is, today Sushil Kumar Modi is going to address a gathering at Rohtas district as well as also in Aurangabad district. So I think it is quite immature to say at this point in time what would be the clear picture, because number of campaigners are still they are in the queue. They will be addressing the gathering. So it is election. We know that anything can change at the very last moment. So as far as till now the situation is concerned, yesterday we had a word with Jitan Ram Majhi, the former CM of India. They said that there are some ill wills with Ramvilas Paswan as far as JDU is concerned, but this is not the main issue of election for the NDA. So NDA has other things to do. Basically, NDA is targeting RJD. Just they are talking about what was happening before 2005, what was the situation of law and order, what was the situation of industry, what was the situation of infrastructure projects like road, like rivers, like other basic needs. So basically, these things are internal in terms of politics, because no leader, not even a single leader, is open their mouth and just blaming the LJP or LJP is blaming JDU as of now. But yeah, we cannot say that what happens later. So I think it remains to be seen that what the later campaigners, the star campaigners are still there.
Absolutely. So the political dynamics in the state is evolving by the day. Yogesh, thanks very much for joining us for the moment. We'll of course keep a close track on the developments there in the state ahead of the assembly elections there. Thanks very much for the moment. And moving on now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will release the autobiography of Dr. Balasaheb Vikhe Patil and rename the Prasar Rural Education Society as Loknetya Dr. Balasaheb Vikhe Patil Prasar Rural Education Society at 11 this morning via video conferencing. Dr. Balasaheb Vikhe Patil served as member of the Lok Sabha for multiple terms. He was Union Minister of State, Finance and Union Cabinet Minister, Heavy Industries at the centre. His autobiography is titled Devechwa Karani, which means dedicating one's life for a noble cause, and is aptly named as he dedicated his entire life to the benefit of society through his path-breaking work in various fields, including agriculture and cooperatives. The Prasar Rural Education Society was established in 1964 at Loni in Ahmednagar district with the aim to provide world-class education to the rural masses and empower the girl child. The society is currently serving with the core mission of educational, social, economical, cultural, physical and psychological development of students.
Well, Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari will today inaugurate and lay the foundation stone for 8 national highway projects in Kerala. Over 200 kilometers long highways worth 12,692 crores will give a big boost to the economic prosperity of the state. The event will be attended by the Governor Arif Mohammad Khan, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan and Union MOS General retired Dr. V.K. Singh and V. Muralidharan, the minister from the state. Members of Parliament and MLAs and other senior officers from the centre and state will also take part in the inauguration event.
And let's now move on, take a look at the updates on COVID-19 from across the country. The corona recoveries in India has crossed the 61 lakh mark. 71,559 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 61,49,535. And with this, the recovery rate currently stands at 86.36%. Now, India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a great success. The fatality rate has dropped to 1.53% with 1,09,150 deaths recorded so far. The number of active COVID-19 cases in India stands at 8,61,853, which is 12.10% of the total cases reported so far.
India is conducting COVID tests at a high pace. The centre-led COVID management strategies have focused on early detection through widespread, easy and aggressive testing. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, 9,94,851 tests were conducted in a single day. The total number of samples tested so far have increased to 8,78,72,093 tests as on 11th of October.
The Arogya Setu app developed by the Government of India for the prevention of COVID-19 is receiving worldwide acclaim. The World Health Organization has also praised the Arogya Setu application. According to the official Twitter handle of the WHO, its Director General has said that the Arogya Setu app from India has been downloaded by 150 million users and has helped city public health departments to identify areas where clusters could be anticipated and expand testing in a targeted way.
In Jammu and Kashmir, Army distributed health and medical safety kits to people living in remote areas of Tehsil Tana Mandi in district Rajouri. The kits containing hand sanitizers, face masks, disposable gloves and disinfectants were distributed among 480 families belonging to the Gambhir Murg. A live demonstration was also carried out to familiarize the local population about the use of the medical kits and other preventive measures to avoid the spread of the virus.
In Kerala, the tourist destination starts welcoming tourists under strict COVID-19 norms from Monday onwards. The hill, adventure, backwaters and Ayurveda tourist destinations reopen for the domestic tourists, while the beach destinations will remain closed and will be opened on 1st November as it is difficult to place restrictions for the entry of tourists on the beaches.